Getting feedback. I started talking soon. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Stargate to the Cosmos. I'm your host, Janet Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Lessin, and our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as the Mad Painter, and this is Revolution Radio, Studio B. And our guest today is Apolla Asteria, and she is an artist working in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles, California as a SAG-affiliated actress, a sign model, and the guitars for the multi-award-winning 432 hertz frequency band, The Siren. She is also the artist-creator of Shaman Spears, uniquely handcrafted energy channeling devices she invented herself. Besides being an artist in many forms, she is also a speaker MC for UFO. After being a lifetime researcher of UFOlogy, exopolitics, forbidden archaeology, esoteric knowledge, and metaphysics. My tongue's not working today. Apolla has been considered by herself and many others to be a pioneer in the human consciousness shift movement. After a lifetime of training by her uncle in healing touch and quantum touch, she has recently become a certified quantum touch energy healer and plans her reiki training soon. So I have a long bio on her on aquarianradio.com, and let's see, we're going to be talking about her life experiences in ufology and what she's doing in the world to make it a better place for everybody to live in. And we met Apolla at the Stargate to the Cosmos 2018 Expo in Albuquerque, New Mexico last year, and she's an amazing person. She just stepped right in, and she was on panels, and she's an upcoming world leader. Sasha, what would you like to say?
Well, just one interesting thing, Apolla, is as you wear all these costumes on all these different sets, I just somehow imagine that they're like contacting a sub-personality or an archetype of your own. And it's like, so you've had all these different lives every time you're in a different costume and set. And I just wonder if you ever got that kind of a sense.
Welcome to the show. And I do have a lot of pictures of Apolla on aquarianradio.com. I invite you to go check them out. Okay, take it away. Aloha.
Aloha. Hey, everyone. It's great to be here. So
tell us about yourself. This first part, we want to listen to about your life story. Are you an experiencer with paranormal and extraterrestrial contact?
Yes, I am. I've had many experiences. My most powerful experiences to me that really kind of blew me away were these experiences I've had with a lime green ball of light that has come to me in many different ways. But once just completely in person in the middle of the desert in Joshua Tree, it just came down from the sky and hovered in front of me for a little bit and then shot forward and disappeared. And I noticed I've had several other experiences with this lime green ball of light, but in other places as well. So I could tell you the stories with that to start off with.
Well, wherever you want to start, but we do want to cover that. Do you have a question?
No.
Okay, so tell us about yourself, how you got into whatever you're doing. You're doing modeling.
Let's start with the group, what you already mentioned, honey.
Okay, we'll go with your UFO and paranormal experiences. Start with that, but go as far back in time to your earliest experience, if you haven't, and then we'll go forward in time. Take it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So my first, well, I guess from the very beginning, my whole life I've been very just kind of, I always felt kind of awakened to everything that was going on in the world. I always knew there was a globalist cabal. I always knew that there was this, I always knew there were aliens on other planets and Atlantis and ancient Egypt and all these, our lost history was always very important to me to figure out. And I have many experiences growing up where I remember at one point I was terrified that aliens were going to come in my room and get me. And I would go down to my parents' room every night and I'd be like, please help me. The aliens are going to get me tonight. And like, so I think something must have happened where I was taken, but my memories were being wiped. So that's like my earliest memories. But okay, so I told you about when the lime green ball of light came to me in the desert. This was about 4 years ago. So this is kind of going out of chronological order, but about 4 years ago, I guess it was 5 years ago, I was out in the desert and this lime green ball of light came down from the sky and then it just kind of hovered in front of me and it shot forward and disappeared. And that entire summer after this moment, almost every single night, as soon as I fell asleep, I would be on a ship and I was always like on a ship with different people. They all kind of looked like they had like lab coats on or something. And they always kind of looks like they didn't know why they were there either. And like at the time I thought this was like lucid dreaming, but now I'm not so sure. But every single night we would go on these different planets. And like I distinctly remember this one night where we ended up on what looked like the surface of the moon. We were coming down onto it and there was like this glass sort of like underground base that had like a glass top. And we landed on the glass top and then it came down like a ramp. And when we got out, like it kind of became a ramp like in this underground like base. And me and the other people got out and we start walking down the ramp and there was all these like little gray aliens and they came running up to me and they're all talking to me but like with their minds like telepathically. And it was like they were like excited to see me. They're like, but it was funny because they're like going like this with their hands kind of, but they were talking with their minds. And so the ramp came back up and it became the ceiling again. And then me and the other people looked over and there were 3 more ships coming down and they came down and also landed on the ramp and it came back down to the base and more of these like little gray aliens came out. So this only went on for like an entire summer. And after a while, I stopped having these dreams or whatever they were. And I realized this lime green ball of light, it comes to me like a lot in like dreams and visions. Like, so I started realizing like I'd had other experiences with it in the past. Like previously, probably 7 years prior, I was asleep at my parents' house when I was younger in like high school. And I was in a dream, and in my dream, I was in this like misty, like kind of creepy forest, and there was this green light coming out of the forest, and I'm just like leaning against this like old rotting log, and this lime green ball of light starts coming closer, and then I realize it's this old like hunchback like crony kind of lady, and she's holding a lantern. And she comes up and the lantern has the lime green ball of light in it. And she comes up and touches the center of my forehead. And when she did it, she said something. I don't know what she said, but it was like shocking. And I woke up and I could not move. I had sleep paralysis. And at the time I didn't know what sleep paralysis was. I'd never experienced it before. So I just like immediately, I literally could not move the tips of my fingers or my eyelids or anything for like 2 minutes. And as soon as I was able to, I ran upstairs because I was really freaked out. I didn't know what it was. And so also a few years after that, another experience I had with it was the first time I worked with plant medicines. And so in this vision I had, I was sitting there and I closed my eyes and I was like not there anymore. I was like on the other side of the universe, and there's this lime green ball of light that formed into this neon green tree, and it was like the universe was like showing me it was like the tree of life, and it showed how like everyone was interconnected. And yeah, it was really incredible. So I just realized this like comes to me a lot. So besides that, I've seen a lot of craft in the skies at different times, or UFOs, but a lot of times I feel like they're probably backwards engineered craft, because I usually see it around Nevada and that area. So I feel like it's our government's backwards engineered craft and probably not extraterrestrials.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you have any sense of like a purpose of a mission, or that you have another job or something that you're doing?
Yeah, I always it's weird. Like my whole life, I felt like I was here just to help move along the human consciousness shift. Like I knew when I was younger, growing up, I just like had this feeling that there was this human consciousness shift. Like we were evolving, and they needed someone to be a leader to the other people in my generation to help evolve this paradigm. And so my whole life, like as soon as I could read, I was just reading, you know, books on like esoteric knowledge, Atlantis, like lost civilizations, forbidden archaeology. Forbidden archaeology is really what got me into the whole UFO scene, because I was always interested in the whole ancient alien concept. Like I read Sakurai Sitchin growing up, and you know, I was really into his work, and I was into like ancient aliens before ancient aliens was a thing. And so for me, I have to do this. My mission is through my art. So I do a lot of different forms of art. I'm a model, I'm an actress, I'm a musician, a guitarist in a 432 Hertz frequency band that we're actually signed by Guns N' Roses manager, and we should be touring pretty soon here. You can look that up, whatistissiren.com. The band is The Siren. And also I make these crystal spears for channeling energy. I was raised by quantum touch energy healers, so my whole life I've worked with quantum touch, and recently I just got certified in the Wonder method also. And I actually just started reading.
What is quantum touch? Let's break that down. What is quantum touch energy?
So quantum touch is basically working with energy on a quantum level. So with quantum touch, like the technique, this sort of modality, I never did Reiki, but a lot of people tell me it's similar. I haven't gotten certified in that yet though. But what we do is we bring the energy. So like it is working with basically love energy, chi, life force. They call it the force in Star Wars. It's all the same thing. So basically what we're doing is you're not healing someone, you're basically resolving their issue, because all disease begins on a vibrational level. So if your vibrations are off sync, what we're doing is channeling energy into other people, giving them more energy so that they are able to heal themselves. So basically how we do this is we pull the energy. There's different ways of doing it. The Yang method is pulling energy up from like up your body, up to your head, and then down through your arms and out your hands. So with these, the reason why I make these is I put magnets, naturally magnetic hematite sand, and quartz all down the insides of these. So when you hold them, if you use quantum touch energy healing, normally you would be channeling energy out of your hands. But holding these, it amplifies the energy like times 10. And so it's really incredible. And what's interesting is I started putting naturally magnetic hematite sand in these because, you know, I just like intuitively, I just started doing it. And some articles came out recently, right after I started doing it, that we actually have hematite in our brains, scientists have found, which is what probably causes us to have the ability to be telepathic, because it's like all, you know, interconnected magnetically.
So this is just auditory. So can you describe what you're holding? When you said these, okay. What are those?
So they are basically like wands. My form of a wand. It's kind of like a mix between the idea of a wand and a spear. So, because I was reading a lot of like ancient mythology, I'm like, why do people never carry spears anymore, or like staffs? Like they're so great, you know. And so what I did was I got bamboo. I get bamboo that I picked myself in Topanga Canyon, because Topanga Canyon has this sort of energy vortex with the fire, water, and earth energy there. So I get in a certain area there, and I put magnets, naturally magnetic hematite sand, and sand I collect from sacred places around the world. Like I make it a point to go to all these sacred spots. So I've been to like Egypt, I've been to Peru, Machu Picchu. You know, I always travel around places in the United States, and I just kind of collect sand and stones everywhere I go in like amazing places, and then I mix them all together and put them down the sides of these. And then I decorate them with faux fur and faux leather, and feathers, and then I wire wrap a crystal on each end, and then I paint them with crop circles, and ancient symbols, but mostly crop circles that have been found around the world. So I love when new crop circles come out, because I'm like, thank you, aliens, for the new material. It's really fun. It really helps evolve the collection. But also with these, what's interesting is with quantum touch, there's this quantum entanglement method where you can link separate items together energetically. So I do that with my spears. And if you were in the part of the Quantum Touch program, they do this with these necklaces that they give all the practitioners. So every practitioner that has a necklace, it with this mandala, it makes the whole collective stronger. So I took that concept and used it with my spears. So every new spear I make, I add it to the energy collective, and I charge it with one particular spear. Which here, let me grab it. It's pretty cool. This one I got in Egypt. It's carved from the Valley of the Kings, and maybe you can see this end right here. So yeah, so this is the one I use to charge all the other ones, and so every person that has one. What?
How long is that? That looks very long.
Yeah, it's taller than me, so it's like kind of reminds me of like. Was it Merlin the White? Or no, Gandalf the White from Lord of the Rings. Yeah. I don't know why. That's just what I like to call this one. But yeah, in my spears, they range all different sizes. Like they range from like, these small little wands to as tall as that. And every person that gets one, I give them this ancient scroll that I make. I make these little ancient scrolls now. And they talk about what it means to have one. It's kind of like a secret till you get one to figure out what the message is. But it's very interesting.
Well, do you have these items on your website?
I am actually in the process of getting them all up right now. As soon as I'm done with the Shaman Spears shoot, I'll have them on my website. But right now, you can just email me or message me on the site. It's www.shamanspears.com, and I can always customize them. And that's a little pricier to customize, but I will very soon here have this entire collection online. But like I said, in the meantime, if you would like to get a customized one, I can always do that.
Okay, I'll put that on the aquarianradio.com so people can contact you. If you have any pictures of them, send them to me and I'll put them on your show page as well. Sasha, do you have any comments or questions? Okay, well, let's just continue. So, now you're making in the back, and I'm sorry you listeners can't see this, but Paula has her camera on, and she has these fascinating dragon headgear. Well, tell us about them, and they're different colors. Are they dragons? Looks like
they're dragon skulls. So basically, I've always had this this infinity for dragons. I just love dragons, and
I do too.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they're so amazing. I used to always have these dreams about gold dragons. When I was younger, I'd always draw a gold dragon. And it was funny because the first UFO conference I ever went to, Contact in the Desert, I remember this random, older lady came up to me. We were having a conversation. And she was like, I feel like you had a gold dragon in a past life. And I was like, I used to always draw gold dragons when I was younger. Where did you get that? It was so strange. But I was like, I don't know what that means. I hope I had a gold dragon before because that'd be really awesome. But in the meantime, I'm making these dragons. I keep forgetting the listeners don't see the video. But so basically, they are headdresses. I'm sorry?
Yeah. I said I can see them. I'm sorry the listeners can't, but they're they look like they fit on your head, right? That you were saying earlier. They're headdresses.
Yeah, they're headdresses. So they kind of sit at the top of the head, and I actually made them cushiony on the inside, and so it looks like the upper half of a dragon skull. And I actually use buffalo teeth to make the teeth. And, buffalo teeth are normally flat on one end, but I had the roots kind of stick out, so they're kind of been backwards. But this has been a long process. I've actually been working on these for 6 months, and I want to use them as a promo for my Shaman Spears promo shoot that I'll be doing very soon here to get everything up online. So I'm really excited about it. And it's been a whole process. I've gone from, these started out as cardboard paper, and then I just kept molding stuff onto them and adding things, and I just added this really cool detailing around the eyes, and pretty soon here they're going to be done. I'm actually going to put a million individual scales on them, so that's what I'm working on right now, and yeah, I'm really excited for them. Once they'll be done, they'll be up on the Shaman Spears site.
Well, I love it. I love dragons, so can't wait to see them. So when you get those, take pictures and send them to me, okay? And I'll add them to your
Of course,
page.
they'll be for sale too. Like as soon as I finish them and do this shoot, yeah, I'll be putting them up on the store. I don't know if I'll be able to let them go. They've been like my babies. I've been watching them grow up, and it's been really incredible.
Well, that would be hard to let them go. Okay, so so what is your, besides your dragon skull? You're in a band. Tell us about your band. And are you the siren? What's your role in the band? You play guitar? I thought I saw you with the guitar.
And do you have samples of it that you can let us hear?
I actually learned a cool soloing technique I could show you guys right now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, but let me explain the band first. So we do everything. I'm the guitarist for it. We do everything in 432 hertz frequency. So the guitars, the vocals, everything are tuned to 432 hertz. It's its own kind of form of music. It's called epic step. So it's classical, rock, pop, and EDM all mixed together. So it's very interesting. Yeah, and here, let me pull out my guitar. It's actually right here. It's already plugged in. I can feel it.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh,
Good. We have live music here, everybody.
Get these bracelets off. Real quick here.
Wow.
Oh, too much distortion for that. I forgot I had electric.
Okay.
That's pretty cool, right? That's a cool new like soloing technique I just learned. I'm really excited to use it.
So what, do you sing as well?
No, I just play guitar.
Okay, you just
I mean, I
play
can
guitar.
sing.
Okay.
It just doesn't sound that great.
Doesn't sound great. Okay, we won't have you sing if it doesn't sound great. What is it? Tell our listeners what the significance of the 432 hertz.
Well, 432 hertz frequency. It's basically a harmonic frequency, and so basically, the concert A tuning was originally 432 hertz, and then it was changed to 440 hertz, which is a disharmonic frequency. Actually, during the Nazi regime, the Prime Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, during the Nazi regime, changed it to 440 hertz, which is a disharmonic frequency. So if you've seen like the sand test, like the sound test where you put sand on a plate or water on a plate, and you see how you can play these different frequencies into the sand, and it will change into these beautiful patterns and shapes if it's a harmonic frequency like 432 hertz. But so 432 hertz, that's the concert A tuning. So, but if it's at 440 hertz, which is now currently on all of our radio stations, it's the main tuning, is actually disharmonic. So it doesn't make the patterns and shapes. And just think about what that does to the water in our bodies and how that can affect even like, our consciousness. It's actually really horrible. It's like a weird, like dark agenda that they're playing music like this on the radio. That is it. So the difference between the frequencies is actually 432 hertz is actually slightly sharper. So it really sounds the same, but it's just slightly higher pitched. But like I said, mathematically, you can find it everywhere in the universe, 432. I don't have all the facts listed out, but just look it up, and it's really fascinating.
And you're saying that started by the Nazis. So how did...
Yeah, all
that
the
become
ancient
the
instruments were tuned to 432 hertz if you look at.
The
If you look
440
at,
started with the Nazis, right?
yeah, 440 hertz. So all ancient instruments, they were all tuned to 432 hertz, like naturally. And then during the Nazi regime, they changed the concert A tuning to 440 hertz, which is disharmonic. So before that, if you look at any ancient instruments, they were tuned to 432 hertz. So
it's just like the difference in to 40 was just like putting fluoride in the water. It was putting this other frequency in the sound.
So I wonder how that became the dominant.
It's a poison. It's a mind trap.
Right, but how did the Nazis get the whole world to do that?
That's what I was wondering. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, but if you look at all ancient instruments, they were tuned to 432 hertz. So it's a really, I guess, it's just like like the fluoride in the water, like you said. It's very,
So Mozart and everybody else in World War II were playing in 432. And then it got changed. Anyway, we have to research this. Maybe somebody knows this.
Michael Hill.
Yeah.
He knows a lot on that too. Yeah, totally. His 432 hertz plates are so amazing.
And the other thing is that in the actual crop circles, they keep sending that number as well as the ASCII symbols for Ea or Enki, Aquarius. That this is his age, and you are a priestess and a representative of this whole change that we're coming through, and that's what I think's happening.
Really, that's really incredible. I definitely feel that. By the way, I very much enjoyed doing your past life regression class or the hypnosis class at the conference, Stargate to the Cosmos the other year. That was amazing. That was an amazing experience. I would like to do more work with that with you. I was very interested in it, in the experience I had.
Wonderful.
We'd love to. What did you come up with? Anything, any memories or information that you could share?
For me, it was the experience of putting someone else under and hearing their experience. I've always had problems with getting hypnotized, but I had some stuff kind of come up towards the end, but I was kind of cut off in the middle of it. So, but the guy I was doing it to, he had a past life remembrance of being in like an ancient like Mexican city or like South American city, and he just described it all like it was really incredible. I don't think I should give away his personal story, but
no, of course.
Yeah.
It's wonderful though. It's like it opens the doors. Everything you've ever experienced personally and collectively is there.
Yeah, I wish I could tap into mine a little more. It's weird. I'll have things come up like randomly sometimes, and I've had people tell me things, but so I don't ever really know how to discern. I'd like to fully go under myself sometimes. That works.
That's right. The most important thing is don't let somebody else tell you, because you've got your own unique way of symboling and experiencing things, and try to get it directly instead of letting anyone else give it to you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, totally. Definitely.
Yeah, when you were at the conference, I got a sense of like your very old soul and what is your story. And so, yeah, I'd love to work with you for, not live here, but help you act. Because I said, you're more than what you see. I mean, you're amazing to see, but you were just so, I don't know, you just stood out in the crowd. You could look down the hallway and there's Apolla, and you're like a magical person.
You've had uploads.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I had an incredible time at that conference. All the people there, it was just, And I definitely had a lot of amazing experience. Like the tantra classes there were just like, it was just exactly what I needed at that time in my life, and I really appreciate it. It was a really great group of people. I'm excited for Stargate 2020. That's going to be so awesome.
Yeah, well, we're working on it. It's an idea, but we're working on it. So
Okay. Well, I'm excited to see you guys again. I had so much fun with you. I really enjoyed hearing your stories as well.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know who tuned into that.
You got a dragon too.
Well, that's what I didn't know if you saw that, but I have interactions with a dragon, and I really need to flesh that out more. But I actually, I had this fascination with dragons, and then when I worked a job on a military base, I was there about a year into my contract, and then next thing I got taken to an underground facility, and I got to meet a dragon, a giant dragon, and she projected down into an avatar where she was about my size, so I could interact with her, because it was like a giant with I was like the size of a mouse in her the real scale. So she came and interacted with me. So I wondered if you had some kind of interaction with dragons, because I carried these two little statues with me all over the planet. I got them in Pennsylvania when I lived there with my ex-husband, and when I decided to move from Pennsylvania to Oahu, it's like, what can you take? Well, you can't take much. So what did I ship? All the things I had, I shipped my two dragons, right? Because they meant something to my soul. I didn't know what my ego, what that was about. So I'm just wondering, if you have, like the lady said, you interacted with a golden dragon.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I've never consciously seen one before, but I would love to. But that's so funny you say that about the dragon statues. I don't have them with me right now, but at all my booths, I always have, at my Shaman Spears booth at all the conferences, I always have a black dragon and a white dragon that are about like this, about the size of like my hand or a little bigger. And it's really funny. They're like my yin and yang dragons.
Right. So, whoops.
Lost it.
Wait a minute. There we go. If you were to make up a story about your interaction with dragons, what comes to mind? Like, did you read any books or see any movies?
Well, as soon as you said that, it immediately came to me that there was this series. There were a bunch of books actually that I read growing up. I totally forgot about this. But they always seem to be like, they were all different series that I read, but my favorite one was the Aragon series. That series is incredible, and they all seem to have this concept about a person, just like a regular person, finds a dragon egg, and it's always in this ancient, like, lost time. It's like a different world, and it's kind of more of a, I don't know, not a super advanced race. And just an ordinary person will find a dragon egg, and they help hatch it, and then they become telepathically connected with it somehow. I think it's because they help like raise it, and then for the rest of its life, it's kind of like their dragon, like they ride it because they're the one that is able to telepathically connect with it. So, and the dragons, they seem to just only have this with the person that they are connected with. So the Aragon series is really incredible. They only made like one movie, but there's like a series of books that like it goes really deep. Like the dragon, Aragon, who finds the dragon, or the guy that finds the dragon, he ends up being taken underground to this elven world, and then I think it was like an elven world, and then they take him to their world, which is beyond this underground cavernous world, and they teach him how to connect with nature and how to hone his supernatural powers. And then he comes back into the world and helps fight these evil people that have evil dragons in this like battle. And I think that's really interesting.
Wow.
The concept of being able to connect with the dragon. It seems like most books that are written, and I always think like, fiction, there's always a lot of truth in fiction. It's like I don't know if it's like the writers tapping into something Like, I actually just read the Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. You know, a lot of people say, like, Trump was a time traveler. This book was written in the 1800s, and it's about a boy that goes in the mountains in Russia, and his name is Baron Trump, and he has this person who's helping him named Don Trump, and he has to go find this portal in these mountains in Russia. And then the next book after that, written by the same author, is called The Last President, and it's about a president who lives on Fifth Avenue who everyone hates. And it is just really interesting. Like, you know, like there's also the book, like The Titan, that came out before the Titanic sank, that was about a ship that had all these influential people or rich people that sank, hit an iceberg and sank. And that was like 100 years before it happened. So I think it's interesting. It's like writers, they can just like kind of tap into things from like different times and stuff because it's all in that collective. And I definitely get in that state when I'm writing myself where things start coming through. So that's something that's really
I was watching those YouTubes. I was watching the YouTubes about Baron Trump and Donald Trump, and then they were connecting it that his uncle John was given the Tesla technology on time travel. So they thought that might be really what happened because
apparently his uncle kind of funded Trump's, I think it was Trump's uncle, he actually kind of funded Tesla because there was a point where Tesla wasn't really making any money, and so I heard he was funding him on the side, so that's why he was able to take all this paperwork when you know, when Tesla died.
Yeah. See, I didn't really know, except what the YouTube says, how John Trump ended up, but apparently he was at MIT or something, and so they wanted to give it to somebody that might understand it, but that's making it. So maybe he did fund Tesla, and so he had some insight into how it worked. But you know, the story is he got it worked, and that's why Trump called into a talk show, and he said he was John Titor. Remember John Titor, the time traveler? So there's all these mysterious things like that. What do you want to say, honey?
Oh, just that in the CIA documents that our friend Stuart Swerdlow saw and talked to us about, when the Dracos had settled Lemuria, and their dinosaurs, which they ate, had spread all over. Then the Atlans landed, and the people, the Maldecans, came from the Gobi Desert. They all converged on the. There's this huge war on Earth. So the council, the Andromedans, what's called the Council of Hatona. It's a planet in the Andromeda group, and they one reptilian. And reptilian comes to be symbolized by dragons in a lot of ways. One reptilian and 12 humanoid groups agreed to make the proto-humans, one of which was Homo erectus. But our brainstem that we got from the reptilians, it was also present through Enki because his mother was part reptilian. Our brainstems are reptilian. We have a dragon inside of us in our deepest instincts. That's what I think.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I've read a lot on that history. I've been trying to put the pieces together, and you just put that together very well. That was around, how long ago do you think that exactly happened? Because I hear so many different accounts of it.
This is millions of years ago, way before the Anunnaki ever came. The ancestor of Homo erectus, that's Bigfoot's ancestor too, was here and very, very successful, telepathic. And it's a very interesting thing because most people are ethnocentric or xenocentric, and they believe that technological is superior. But I'm an anthropologist, and I can tell you that simple tribal folk, particularly the ones that ran away from the slave camps in Africa, and Bigfoot, who's very much alive and around, especially in Central California, have a way of life that is just as spiritual. It's just, so what? They don't have technology. They got a lot of other stuff. And just to think we're better because we got cell phones is dumb, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh, what do you think about the way we are evolving right now? Do you think it's bad that we are evolving towards this AI cyborg path when we could
No,
be evolving spiritually?
It's absolutely perfect. It's absolutely perfect because what is inevitable once people analyze the situation, they realize we have the tools for Minerva, for for the intelligence of all our computing abilities together that really understand the humans that made them, to have a planet of peace that works for everybody with a guaranteed life and education for people. It's all there. All we have to do is create Minerva. She's already here waiting to help us. That's what I think.
So you have the solution for humanity. So what do you think? She who asks knows. Yeah, what do you know?
You mean just in general, all my solutions for humanity, or?
Yeah.
I've been going around doing this presentation, kind of laying it all out, and I mean, the first and most important solution to me is eradicating the globalist cabal, which is actually, obviously that's harder than it sounds. But I think once we get that foot off our necks, then we will definitely evolve much faster, because all this technology that is years beyond where we're at now is just being, unutilized, or well, not utilized by us, but in underground bases and in these black budget programs. And it's all this health and all this medical technology. Like, we need to be able to have this in our hands, and we need to be able to utilize all of this. And I think the soft disclosure movement is going a little too soft.
Yeah, it is. It's like Janet's been working with minimum support for every human, and she's meditating on this, and it just seems like this is the most intelligent way to just basically help everybody shine their light and let that light be honored, and then we're synergizing it up to the next level.
Right. Yeah. And see, that's another thing, is like the way we're doing our communities, and just like the way our civilizations are built in general. That's like the main part of my presentation that's most exciting for me. Is I don't know if you guys have heard of the Venus Project. I like to lay out the circular community idea of that, self-sustaining communities. I think, if we had more self-sustaining communities, then we could focus more on building ourselves spiritually and growing, instead of having to work 9 to 5s to get a paycheck and being indentured servants, basically. So my presentation basically goes into how we can change over to that kind of civilization or society. And I think this will happen in the future, but if we do things right. But it's a matter of how do we break, like, can there be like a soft landing with that? Can we change that over smoothly, or is there going to be like mass chaos and disaster before that can happen, when we are able to finally use the energy and the anti-gravity technology?
Go ahead, Sasha.
Well, I think one of the basic points is to get over a sense of enmity among nations and companies and people, and that is the first step to realize we're all on this spinning blue ball together, and we're going to live or die together. And when you look for the common ground, that's the love that's in everyone. And when you get that, then we can connect. And that's what people really want to do. And I think that if they need some help by artificial intelligence, we've got it. We understand what it is. And the military, when you really, and we've got to stop the dualism. There's no other. We've got to make peace with everybody. The military its mission is to protect us. So let's take being safe as the mission, instead of killing other people. I mean, the mission is being safe.
Right.
And that's
like, why isn't the military here protecting our country instead of out, causing all these messes in other countries, when they could just be here protecting us? That's what military should be for every country. It's just they're protecting their citizens. instead of starting wars and
the other thing is, one of the things is artificial intelligence will tell you what my intelligence is, and others say is that my free migration, controlled migration, is like what makes everybody prosper. You get to know people from other societies, wealth gets distributed decently, and so California's in the throes of it, but they're standing up, and they're like, you guys are a beacon to us everywhere else. We love migrants. They're great for us.
Okay. I wanted to go back to the cabal thing, and we're going to be coming up on a break in about 5-6 minutes. So you said your first statement going down this road was, we've got to eliminate the cabal. So first of all, who is the cabal? Have you identified that obscure definition? What is who and what? Say, I think the cabal, I think they're the Anunnaki, and it's come forth, and they created the priesthood and the kingship, and so we're dealing with the first generation hybrid Anunnaki, the ones that came. But who do you think?
So now, yeah.
I mean, I guess there's different levels of it. There's the top 1% of, like the people that are here on Earth. I don't know if are you saying like, the top 1%, like those people are from the Anunnaki bloodline?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I think if you trace it back to the Anunnaki, they never left. People say they left. They never left. If you trace their story, they left their children, but they were hybridized with humans. So they left those people in charge. That's why there's such an obsession with bloodlines and the kings and queens. Now what we're experiencing is that more like our presidents and they're kings. They're just kings. We had the illusion for a while that we had real presidents and democracy.
Well, I guess what it is during this time we're realizing as like a race that we don't need these people controlling us anymore, these entities controlling us anymore, because I guess as a society or as a civilization, we've grown up and we can do our own things now. We can start having our own spacefaring civilizations, and we don't need this control from outside us anymore. Like, before, like, I guess, and like that's another thing that I want to say about this is like, people, they just like have this view that we're oppressed, like, we're indentured servants, there's nothing we can do about it. But I think realizing that we can all have our own power and take our power back, and it's not that we gave our power away, but we need to step into our power as a race and take our planet back.
That's so right on. What Enki has indicated in his original teachings to the Society of the Snake that he gave is that he expected Nibiru itself to become uninhabitable, and that he and the other Nibirans would be migrating to Earth, and they wanted to find a peaceful civilization there where they wouldn't get hurt or attacked or killed, and when Nibiru was no longer livable, they would come to this beautiful planet of peace, and so the Anunnaki who have returned and those who never have left have told Michael Lee Hill and others that they're coming to clean up the mess that they left, and that Prince Marduk, who the Christians call Satan, is repentant. And Penny Bradley has told us that he has he's on probation. He says he's making amends, and if he starts playing people against each other and stuff, the orders are that he be killed. That's what Penny told us.
That's very interesting. I heard, so this is the time where like they just came back around 2012. Isn't that like they're hiding, they're back in their underground bases now?
Yes. What happened is when Thoth, known in this world, part of the world as Kukulkan, left in 311 BCE. He came in, he basically said, "Look, I'm going to come back December 21st, 2012, and I'm going to bring with me 9 other gods and 12 other gods." Now, what does that mean? We talked to Toth's niece, D'Armand, and she basically said, Toth, that's her uncle, said, yeah, not only is the major Anunnaki coming back, but that Jesus is coming. That's what she said, is one of them coming this time, and we hope he's going to be treated better.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I've always had a feeling this is a very important like turning point in human history this time. And there's definitely probably been times like this before in ancient prehistory, but this is like one of those major turning points. I think it's going to be very interesting in the years to come.
Great. So, what was I going to say? What was I going to say, honey? And anyway, for me, the Anunnaki, I totally immerse myself in the studies of the Anunnaki, and I don't know everything, but I'm trying to figure out how to get from here, where we are with this current paradigm, into this Star Trekian type utopia, although Star Trek got taken over and turned into Star Wars as well. But throughout time, we've had these concepts of where we can go. And that's why I'm looking at your solutions for humanity, because I'm looking for solutions for humanity. And I didn't see your presentation, but I was just wondering, maybe we're going to be coming up with a break here in about 2 minutes. But after break, if we could go into how to get there to this paradigm. See, when I was a child and Star Trek came on, we envisioned a different future than where we are now. We were heading in a different direction. And the major first hijack was, 911, which was like we were going in a certain trajectory because we already been through it. By the time Star Trek premiered, we had been through Martin Luther King and Jackie and John Kennedy and Bobby and all those assassinations. And then I guess the first hijacking of our timeline was Lennon got killed in 1980. But we seemed to recover from that. And we were going into this different course, like you were talking about, where everybody is peaceful and loving and conscious, and we're in communities. And then all of a sudden we're in this reality. And so you were talking about taking back our power. So I want to go into it a little bit more in the second half. But go ahead. What would you like to say?
Oh, you said you want to get into the solutions after the break, but I want to say real quick, you mentioned Star Trek. I'm actually in the new Star Trek that's coming out. I forgot to mention that earlier. I don't know. Did you guys know that?
No, which one?
So the new series that's coming out, Star Trek Picard, I am playing an Ariel. I am not allowed to give details, but I don't really have lines. I'm just an alien, but it's pretty cool. I'm going to be in several episodes, so really excited for that to come out. I filmed that earlier in August. So, yeah.
It's coming out in August.
Oh no, I filmed it in August, but I think it's coming out around springtime. No, I'm not sure. I'll have to look. I've seen the commercials or the trailers are coming out, so I think it's coming out soon. If not the end of December.
Are you in any of the trailers? Are you in any of the trailers?
I'm not like a main character. I'm just kind of like a random alien in it. So I don't know how much I'm going to be shown, but it was cool to be in it. It was really fun. And I actually have a whole scene like with Picard, like directly, like he's like talking straight to my face, like 2 inches from my face. So I'll definitely be shown there. And I'm just kind of doing random alien stuff and this random planet in these other episodes. So I don't know, I'm excited for it.
Speak? Do you get to speak at all?
No, I didn't. It wasn't a speaking part. It was just kind of like, I was part of their like this like group of aliens. So whenever the group was shown, I was like in it.
Oh, that's exciting though.
I can't give the details because I signed NDAs, but I'm like a gold alien.
Well, that's wonderful. I can't wait to see it. Will I recognize you?
I will be. I look like me. I just have gold skin. So
cool.
yeah. They didn't put any prosthetics on or anything. And I guess we're kind of like, I'm not supposed to be giving all the details. I should stop talking.
Okay, don't say more. We don't want to get in trouble. Okay, we're taking a commercial break right now. We'll be back in 5 minutes after the commercial break. So, see you in 5.
Hey.
All right, you got about 5 minutes. I'll let you know when I'm pulling it back in.
All right, sweet. So we're going to go over the solutions after this?
They probably stuck the way they usually do.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on. Okay.
This isn't a very long break.
Okay. How much longer does the show go on after this?
Another hour.
Okay.
She didn't tell you that?
I wasn't sure how long it went on. I just knew when it was starting. She probably told me. I just forgot.
So what you said them were started out of cardboard?
Yeah, I used cardstock paper and I just printed out the side of this like skull I found online, and I just cut out the top half, and then I cut both sides, and then I just kind of duct taped it together, and then I put like resin over it and sealed it, and then wood epoxy, and then I sanded that down, and then I've sculpted over that with like sculpting clay, and yeah, it's just been like a whole process of like months, but they're almost done. But they started out as literally pieces of paper.
Right, that's what I was wondering. I'm an artist myself.
Oh, cool.
I work in any medium. I don't care what it is.
Same, yeah. I do some paintings too. I haven't really.
I do a lot of digital art.
Digital art? Oh,
On the
cool.
computer, yeah.
I'm not the best, like, technically capable person, or I'm not really good with tech stuff, so.
I even work in plasticine clay. You cook.
I used air dry clay for what I've been doing with these. It was my first time really working with clay, and I really like it. But I feel like this kind cracks really easily.
Yeah, it does.
So plasticine, that's better. Like,
Yeah, you bake it and it comes out. It's plastic, is what it is.
Oh, wow.
And I make all kinds of stuff out of it, necklaces and that.
Oh, yeah, I love like molding. It's so much fun. Or sculpting. I never really got into it before. I've been having fun with it.
I do mixed medium sculptures too, with God only knows what trash, and it comes out looking like something.
Sweet.
We got about 5 minutes. You back yet? Nice to.
I'm back.
There you go.
I was just looking. You have more. How many do you have? You have 5 altogether. How many dragon?
I have 5. I didn't finish. I was painting all these last night, so you can see there's a gold one over here. I didn't finish painting it yet, so that's why I don't have it up here. That's actually my favorite one. That's the gold one, but yeah, I was waiting for it to dry still, so I wasn't able to paint it yet.
Wow. So I'm sure they're going to be a hit, and then you're going to have to mass produce them somehow. So,
it's taken me so long to make these, but I guess they're like the prototype. I could probably figure out how to mass produce them pretty easily. It'd probably be a way easier process than how I've made them.
They just need to laser scan it, and then they can reproduce it any way you want.
Oh, really? Wow.
You can make sculptures or actual plastic masks if that's what you want.
Sweet.
Technology is pretty cool sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I want to have feathers coming out the backs of these and kind of coming down too. I don't know how I'm going to work that out. I don't know if that's too much.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and pick it up because it'll take me a second to turn the sound on, and I'm not sure which promo this is at the end.
Okay.
Original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinion of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener support. Go it now. We return you to your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stargate to the Cosmos. We have feedback. Hold one moment. Okay, Stargate to the Cosmos. I'm your host, Janet Lessin, and I'm here with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Lessin. Our producer is Thomas Becker, also known as a Mad Painter, and our guest is Apolla Asteria, and we are on Studio B on Revolution Radio. But before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to revolution.radio and make your donation, because we really appreciate your donations. You help us keep the lights on and pay the bills and keep broadcasting to you, and we really appreciate your donation. So thank you very much. So Sasha, before we get back to the second hour of the show, what would you like to say or add?
I think it's time to look at solutions. That's what we're going to do this next hour.
Yeah, so what it says in your bio that Apolla has been touring the UFO Spiritual Conference Circuit, giving her presentation on solutions for humanity at several events, including 5D events, Disclosure Con, and the Seventh Seal Summit. And so I'd like to know more about, eradicating the globalist cabal to full disclosure and ending with new ways of developing conscious communities. So let's start from the beginning. How do we get rid of this cabal? You have ideas?
Well, basically, I mean, that starts with what we're doing with the government right now. Obviously, there are all these indictments that are coming out, and these people in power are being indicted, and that's a great step forward. I think these elitist pedophile rings are being exposed, and all this stuff is kind of coming to the surface. So I think this is definitely in the process of happening. I don't like to go too political into the different sides politically. That's something I've kind of decided lately, because I don't know. I don't want to be one side or the other. I consider myself a libertarian. So I actually work with the Free and Equal Elections Committee, and what we do is we are basically the slogan is more voices, more choices. So I go around to events like Politicon, and we talk about what it would mean if we were able to have all the parties run on an equal platform. So it's not just the left versus the right, but we have all these other options, and that would kind of get rid of the separation that is going on, because the separation is the main thing that is kind of the control mechanism that's being used on us. So I think if we can get rid of that and at least have everyone be able to run on an equal platform, all the different parties, then that would get rid of the separation a little more, just because it wouldn't be just this side versus that side, but we would have 5 or more parties running at the same time, and it's kind of more on mixed ideas and views, not just these views versus these views. So I think that's one step forward with that. And like I said, this is all being exposed as it is. This is all in the process of happening right now, so I think it's very interesting to watch. And I have lots of other solutions. I kind of laid them out. There's a lot, so I don't know if you want me to get into the rest.
Well, yeah, we have another, I don't know, 40 minutes or so. What do you think about how did we get into this two-party system? We used to have more parties. It's countries have more than 2 parties, and so you're saying that I want to understand more what you're saying. Sasha's looking at me with a weird face. Come over here.
No, it was never intended to have two parties. Washington and Jefferson were aghast at the monster that they had created.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of
no
these
parties.
other parties, but they are able to run and debate on an equal platform. Like, they can go to the debates, like the preliminary debates, but they can't be at the main, like, mainstream debates. And that's the way they make it, because they want there to be this separation. If all the, like, you know, there's the Constitution Party. You know, what's interesting is actually, I just found out my great grandfather was actually, I don't know how many Grays it was, but I just found out from some family members that I'm descended from Rufus King. My mom's maiden name is King, and he helped sign the Constitution, and he was the last member of the Federalist Party. So the Democrat Party originally, it was actually Democrat-Republican, one party. It was really weird. It was like the Democrat-Republican Party. And then it split off into two parties after that. The Federalist Party became not a thing anymore, and then it became the Democrats and the Republicans became two different parties. So it's really interesting. I think if all these parties, like the Green Party, the Constitution Party, all these different parties, if the different people running in these different parties could all debate and run on an equal platform, then that would give us more options, and all this separation wouldn't be as much a thing as it has been the past couple of years.
I think that's a great idea.
That's great. You know, we're on the verge of having the ability to have a constitutional convention, which means that this whole constitution that was based on amount of space being more important than people, so that, you know, one Montanan is worth 3,000 Detroiters, is just so inhuman. A constitutional convention, which I think is only 2 more states that need to sign on to it, can alter the whole game. The Constitution was based on slavery. Women weren't in it. It is not really that great of a document. We can do a lot better than that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it was written for what was necessary at that time, and I think a lot of the concepts are important, but I don't know. I think there does need to be a reworking that, you know, makes more sense in our time, because obviously society is much different these days than it was in the 1700s. But I think, you know, freedom of speech, that's the most important thing, and one of the most important things in the Constitution. And that's another thing that's in my Solutions for Humanity, is ending this internet censorship that's going on, because this is crazy and it's scary. And I feel like, you know, we're in like George Orwell 1984. It's like what is happening right now, and so many people don't see it, and it's really sad how brainwashed so many people are. And I think it's really scary that all this censorship is going on. And I think that's another really important thing, is freedom of speech. We definitely need to make sure we still have that right.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Sasha? You had something to say.
It's just it's at some level, you know, we have to not be punitive. All these people have participated in stochastic or actual murder, from the Twin Towers being brought down as an excuse to kill Iraqis, and you know, and so what we need to do is have some process where people can just tell the truth, and we ain't going to kill them, but all these people,
right, I agree with that. Like, when I say eradicate the globalist, globalist cabal, I don't mean like I think all these people should be killed. I think that they should be held responsible for their actions. I think that's an important thing to say. You know, I'm not trying to cause more separation and more, you know, wars by saying this. I think it's just important that everyone is held accountable for their actions at this time.
Oh, yes,
right. So we have all these people that are complicit in killing people, right? So, and that's generation after generation. And so we need a truth and reconciliation. Somehow, we're never going to get the truth if there's always going to be somebody going to go to jail or get killed. So, I mean, we could come to some kind of solution. Maybe, you know, some people resettle to Mars. We have and internationally. If we have the truth, then we have everything. We have all the technologies, we have all the cures for all the diseases, and we have physical immortality. You know, the Anunnaki lived to be 450,000 years old, and we will have all these things, and so we'll have a completely Star Trekian world. We'll move past this current Orwellian world and into a new paradigm. So if the price of truth means some kind of amnesty, so we can get to the bottom of it and finally stop murdering everybody that could be cured from diseases that are curable, right? I'm looking at solutions on this type of level. If we could go into this other alternative, which apparently exists, whistleblowers that are coming forth, and it's getting bigger and bigger, more and more people coming forth. So anyway, I'm interested in your solutions because I have my ideas, but you did the presentation, so.
Well, you were talking about having a more Star Trekian society. One thing, okay, so the original concept I had for this presentation was I was actually asked to give a presentation when I was traveling around Egypt. The head of the 5D events messaged me, and he said he wanted me to come up with a presentation. And originally, being in Egypt at the time, I was thinking a lot about the pyramids, and I've done a lot of research on how they all used to be kind of interconnected on like a global energy grid. I'm sure you guys know a lot about this. What I was thinking was, wouldn't it be interesting if we were somehow able to restore all the pyramids around the globe and put them back on the original energy grid that they were on, that they still kind of probably have to some degree, but isn't working properly? I think it'd be interesting if we were able to restore all of them. Obviously, that would be a huge project. But I mean, think about how that would just be so incredible. Just like, just think about it.
It would save the earth because we wouldn't need fossil fuels. Right there.
Exactly. It's basically like Tesla technology, and it's free energy. And Larry Dean Hunter, I don't know if you've heard of his work. He talks a lot about the many uses of the pyramids. He said they can be used to desalinate water, and they can be used like solar energy. So they have so many uses, and not to mention all the healing capabilities they have, just from the accounts of like the people going to the Bosnian pyramids and it correcting their, I think it was like, their like blood levels, like their blood pressure and things like that. It's really interesting, and I think it would be really interesting if we could come together as a race and restore all of these.
Right, because the story has that was the energy. They had a global energy grid. It connects with all the other pyramids. It connects underground.
With Angkor Wat, too.
And with Angkor Wat, and then the obelisks that are around the planet are part of this energy grid. So we once had a one world energy grid, and it wasn't fossil fuels. So if we can get our heads around it conceptually and figure out, now I guess part of the operations of it was the obelisk at the top. What do they call it? The capstones. So somebody knew how to take down the grid, and they started taking away the capstones. So, but I'm sure there's ways of restoring. We do have some of the capstones, but I guess all the working mechanisms are out of this. Apparently, it's crystal based or something.
The Goog stone.
The Goog stone, yes.
When do you think that all the pyramids when was the last time they were all collectively on the grid, like the grid was activated? I'm curious to know what you guys think about that.
I think it's on right now, and it doesn't stop, and that it's measurable.
That's
the Egyptians in particular don't want anyone to know what's going on, but it's happening. Peter Moon and others have told us about the connection directly between Bosnia and Cairo, and the Valley of the Pyramids. And also there's one with Tibet. And I think all this is still happening, and there are people that know how to use this energy for transport, at least, but a lot of other things too. And there's a lot of things going on the inner earth. People don't really want to come to grips with the fact that there are civilizations that are going on right now that are governed a lot better than the surface and the inner Earth. The evidence, I think, is overwhelming.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
We
There's
had
been
a gentleman, I think we had this guy, John Shaughnessy, and he said that the pyramids are actually kind of stabilizing the planet. We're right on the 180 degrees from the pyramids here in Maui. So it's somehow, I have to read his book. I don't know his theory, and he was talking about it, but he said you could connect the pyramids. If you go 180 degrees around, it always connects with some other place that needs to be stabilized. So, the Hawaiian Islands has the volcanoes.
Yeah, draw a line directly from the pyramid to where it comes out on the other side of the Earth, and there'll be another pyramid there.
Or there'll be.
Wait, did you say there's pyramids in Maui?
No.
Oh,
Yes, there are
I thought you said something like pyramids in Maui. I was like,
we had somebody that was living here, and he had pictures of them. Well, there's one inside the crater, right?
I've been in that.
Yeah, there's a pyramid inside the crater. There's one off the coast, apparently in the waters. There's a couple that are, of course, things have shifted, right? And I don't know where else. Like, there's one on Kauai in the jungle, in the jungles.
And of course, Faso, the Diego, the base under the American base there
In Garcia?
Yeah, Diego Garcia.
Diego Garcia. Yeah, so there apparently are pyramids everywhere. They're not all as visible. Sometimes they're just so huge they look like mountains, and people think, well, that's just a mountain, but it's actually a pyramid.
Yeah, one of the things that the Bosnian and pyramids and stuff, they just look like a mountain. That's because there was, and the Chinese have deliberately covered their great big pyramid up with all kinds of trees, and they think they're hiding it. But no one can fly over it.
I think about this every time I drive by mountains that look like pyramids. I'm just like, that's a pyramid. I have to look at every mountain differently now. Actually, I was at this moon tribe, Burning Man kind of event way out in the desert in, I believe, Nevada or somewhere around Nevada, California border 2 years ago on New Year's. And I ran out in the middle of the desert as the sun was coming up, because all night there was this pyramid shaped mountain that was it looked like it was close by, but actually ended up being probably 5 miles out. And I just went on a mission. I had to climb this pyramid on New Year's morning. So I ran out to it and I climbed up on it. And literally all these blocks were it looked like carved blocks that had been heavily eroded. And when I got to the top, it was the whole thing was made out of quartzite. You could see there was quartz in the rock. And it was just really fascinating to me. And I think there's I'm actually reading America Before by Graham Hancock right now. And I think the America has the most hidden secrets out of any other country archaeologically, because archaeologists think that supposedly we didn't have this ancient prehistory, and they deny that there's. We were actually hit by the hugest cataclysms in recent times, so I think we were hit the hardest. So anything that was here was covered with the most sediment, and it was the most heavily hit with the floods and the fires, and so I think there must be a lot of very interesting stuff that hasn't been found here, especially buried pyramids.
Chaco Canyon. In Chaco Canyon, there's an entrance to this whole sequence of tunnels and stuff, and there's a lot going on, and I think that our government knows very well what's going on in Chaco Canyon.
That's near LA, right? Chaco Canyon?
Where is it?
No, it's in the Four Corners area.
Where's Four Corners?
Oh, okay.
It's like the Grand Canyon. It's way deep down, and people said there's gold artifacts of Egyptians and statues and stuff like that there. And,
the ones kind of in the Grand Canyon?
Yes, yeah.
No way.
So, yeah, the Indians seem to all know about it, and they think the people there help them survive the flood. Exoteric that had access to these things.
You've got alarms going off.
Yeah, I live in downtown LA, so it's pretty loud out here. Can't really help it. Sorry about that.
Can't help.
It's a little promotion
Okay.
for the band I'm in, the Siren. That's what our band is called, so it's just a little promo for our band.
What's going on, Rihanna? What did you say, Rihanna's? They have something going on tonight? Anyway, I couldn't hear what you said.
Oh, there's just alarm, like sirens going off because there's just like fire trucks going by my place right now.
Oh, okay. So let's see.
We're looking at solutions.
Solutions. We're still on solutions. Okay.
Economic inequality and the fact that people are disadvantaged and don't get a chance for their lights to shine. What are we going to do about that?
So like, you mean like homeless people, like things like that, like that?
Yeah, like Janet's solution is a minimum support for every human being.
Yeah, I like the answer.
I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Income, but I take it one step further. Basic minimum needs economy, looking at needs, and I think we can get it by taxing the rich. And there was just a YouTube I was watching where this, and I can't get to it right now, but there's a series of YouTubes on this conference that they went to, and the rich are talking about, oh, we want to be able to do this philanthropic thing and decide what we're going to give to, what scholarship we're going to get. And this one economist from, I know, Switzerland came up and said, stop talking about being a philanthropist because that's just bullshit. Just pay more taxes and put it back into circulation so we can have more programs which are we're going to meet the basic minimum needs. We're not going to give everybody, iPhones, but at least everybody has the right to live in a shelter of some kind. Maybe have a shared bathroom, but we have 500,000 homeless, but we really we're looking at it on a panel the other day. It's probably more like 1 million to 2 million people in the United States are homeless. So I would call that a failure. We get an F as a society because if even one person homeless, it's on all of us. That's my thought. But I'm very liberal. But go ahead. What do you think about all that?
Okay, so I have two solutions for this in my presentation. And so the end of my presentation, like I said, gets into self-sustaining communities. And if we had those and we were able to, like the Venus Project, I don't know if you've heard of it, that's one great way of doing civilization where if we had these circular communities, so basically they're all self-sustaining. So the outer edges of the community would be used for growing gardens, hydroponic growing, vertical gardens. So we can actually have gardens down skyscrapers. They're called vertical gardens. And those are really actually beautiful, amazing designs. And that's another concept. But so we would grow all of our own food in these kind of cultures. So, the circular community design is really interesting because so every community, like obviously you could have your own house, like it's self-sustaining outside of it if you would like to, if you don't like to live in the city area. But if you want to live in the city areas, like the outer rings are used for growing your own food. It's like self-sustaining, and the parks and the gardens around the outer sides. And then once you go into the inner parts, like the center is like the community area, like the learning center. And like there'd be a center where you go and you can like trade things, like you can go in and take like rent, but you don't have to do it for cash, but rent like, guitars or, instruments or, just things you need. And it would all kind of be more of like a bartering system, and everyone would have and then there could also be these like apartment buildings where the insides of them, the center of them, are where all the hospitals or like the healing centers are, and then people live around the outsides of them. So there's like a lot of concepts in the Venus Project that are just really incredible, and I really like how Jacques Fresco laid it all out, and the designs that he has and the different technology he uses for it is already technology we already have that we could implement right away. And also like Earthships, those are self-sustaining buildings. So if we were able to just, first of all, just make a self-sustaining society, then we wouldn't have any homeless problems. Like this, it wouldn't be an issue. So first of all, we could do that. But in the meantime, I don't see why we don't have homeless integration centers in every city. Every major city should, especially like somewhere like LA, it's like, it's getting so bad here. Like literally all the streets are just, it's just tents all along every street. There's trash everywhere. You know, it's just become really bad. And obviously it's all these migrants coming in, and we need to have places for them and for the homeless here, and like, you know, the homeless vets here. And I think it's important. I think every city has enough money to at least make a building that would have like be a sort of integration center where, like, obviously a lot of these people, they're mentally ill. So first of all, there should be a floor that is all volunteer ran, where anyone that has mental disorder, they can stay on this floor, and just there could be like volunteers that come in every day and just do like projects and things with them just for fun, and, you know, take them out and stuff. That way they can still live a fun life. But obviously if they're having, you know, they have like any mental disorders, like that's one of the main causes of homelessness. So I think that problem needs to be taken care of. We need to be responsible for, you know, our fellow brothers and sisters that have these issues, first of all. And then second of all, I think also in the homeless integration centers, they could have different job work programs that to send these people out on work while they're staying in here. That way they can help integrate them back into society. And this could all be taken out of our taxes to run this center. I mean, like, just look at LA. To me, it's crazy that I'm living in a city where there are so many like billionaires and millionaires, and like people are just outlandishly rich here, but yet the homeless problem here is the worst I've ever seen, especially the last couple of years. Like, there's literally homeless people all along the sides of the roads, and, you know, they're all on drugs, and it's like, it's just really bad. And so honestly, it reminds me of like a zombie apocalypse, because these people are just walking around on drugs, like running out in the middle of the streets, and it's just like sad. And it's like some of the richest people in the world live here, and they can't chip off a few pennies to take care of this. Like, that is just crazy. But of course, they all live in, you know, their mansions and their multi-million-dollar yachts, and I guess they don't drive by every day, so it doesn't matter to them.
Right. And then over here in Valley, they're always building new malls, and then they have the old ones that are empty. It's like we have all these box stores that are just closed down and empty, and nobody's renting them, and they stay empty for years. You could put the homeless in these stores and other places that are not getting rented, not being used. At least use them temporarily. Get people off the streets, because that's just right for you know, some kind of plague bursting out. We're just setting up ourselves. Well, maybe that's what the Illuminati want, is Agenda 21, and we'll wipe ourselves out. But
yeah, that's what it's all about, in my opinion. I mean, you can just see it. Like, you know, with everything that's going on, it's just that's what it is. And, you know, that's why eliminating the globalist cabal is my first solution, because that would honestly end like pretty much all of these problems, like before even getting to the other solutions. So
yeah. So go ahead, Sasha.
Oh, well, it's an interest. I love the Venus, what you've described. The project is totally wonderful. And I would like to add a really interesting tactic that the president of Cuba when Batista was president of Cuba, there was murders every day and many homeless people. When Fidel Castro took over, he said there will be no more homeless in Cuba, and so he formed groups of 100 people, and they had government engineers and show them how to build buildings. And part of the project of building, he also forced them to become literate. Every Cuban had to learn to read and do math and build these houses. And so there's no homeless in Cuba. Everybody's got a home, and they built it together, and it's their community. And that's a good idea, I think.
That's incredible. I love that. Yeah, I mean, well, actually, something they started doing here is they are paying the homeless to help clean up all the sides of the roads, like Skid Row, because it's just been like, collecting with like trash and tents lately. So they've been paying the homeless here to $15 actually, $15 an hour to clean up all the trash off the sides of the roads here right now. So that's a step forward.
Right. And over here, I worked on a project on Oahu where they built tiny homes. And this is 20 years ago. There's been, there's always been a homeless problem in the islands, especially on Oahu. And so they made a tiny homes village. And of course, they had some shared resources like the laundromats and little mini stores and the homes. Maybe they had group showers. I'm not sure. They weren't that big, and they were just building them, so I didn't see them inside. But get them off the street. Winter's coming. Winter is coming. More people are going to be.
Yeah, I've seen some on these tiny homes communities. I actually had a friend working on one in Arizona recently. She was telling me about it. So this is actually a project a lot of people have been doing lately. These are starting to come up, and I think it's great. At least have these like tiny home communities for people. And yeah, I mean, I really I think it would be easy to solve this solution. It's just, a matter of putting our resources together to help out our fellow citizens instead of just leaving them on the streets. I've also personally, I'm always involved in like charity projects all growing up. I did a lot of soup kitchens and like clothing and food drives, and it's always great to be a part of those kinds of things going on in your community. Around here we have Disclosure Fest. That's a great that is actually part of the UFO community, but we go around doing these sort of charity projects around LA. So it's really fun to be a part of that. But yeah, I think it's always important to do your part in the community as well, because it all starts with you. So
the other thing I really like all of us to address is the first of all the pharma control where people are addicted to Oxycontin and things like that, and the insurance and the whole medical establishment that really keeps people sick as long as they're paying, and prevents anything from really being cured, because then they wouldn't get any more research grants, and how to return medicine and sanity toward human health on this planet. And I'd like to hear both of your ideas.
Yeah, what are your ideas, Apolla?
Okay, so I actually have a section on health. So my section in health on the presentation is holistic healing. So I feel like the solution for health is that all health should be holistic. So we should have, instead of hospitals, these government-run centers, which, by the way, growing up, I was raised by energy healers. So I never really trusted the whole hospital system, the modern day healthcare system. I just feel like I've always been told this, and I always just felt and experienced myself that they're looking for customers, not patients. So what they're doing is, they're getting paid to give you drugs. That's what they get paid for. When really there's something that causes the problem in your body, and this isn't being solved. Like I said earlier, all disease begins on a vibrational level. So I think instead of hospitals, we should have healing centers. And a lot of people are actually working on these. I've met a lot of people lately who are working on getting healing centers together, and I think it's incredible. But I think a great way of going about it would be that, obviously if you get like a leg cut off or something crazy like that, you need to go to a doctor and get, stitched back up and everything. But so that's important. But besides that, I think we should always have like the energy centers should be a part, like the center part of these healing centers. So you would go to different practitioners, like maybe a Reiki practitioner, or just different like healers that have different modalities. You could go to them first like try to work on the problem on an energetic level. Also, instead of taking drugs, there's all these great herbs out there that civilizations have used for thousands and thousands of years that work perfectly well and probably much better than the drugs you're taking that are going to cause 10, 20 more problems with you by taking them. I am super against pharmaceuticals, and I actually had an issue myself with pharmaceuticals that, it just goes along with all this. So I was actually taking a birth control last year that caused my entire skin to break out in like cystic acne. And I had no idea that it was the birth control causing this. And it was really difficult time for me because obviously I'm in the entertainment industry and I couldn't deal with this. And I had no idea what was causing it. And I was doing everything I could to try to get rid of it. And I was going to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist was giving me antibiotics, which was making it worse. And then I realized that it was my birth control that was causing it. After I stopped taking it, it all went away. So like literally, it's like they just want to give you drugs. They're not looking for the cause of your problem ever. They just want to give you drugs. We need to find healers and practitioners who can go to the root of the problem and actually help people, and also, I think like counselors and people like that are important. Like the mental health side of things is really important too. And that's what makes healing holistic, is looking at all these aspects of our health.
So let's just focus for a minute on birth control. What is a holistic, what you tell people about how to be holistic and not be pregnant when you don't want it?
I've been trying to figure that out myself, honestly. Like, that's just a tough one, I guess. There used to be herbs that could help out a lot with that. And I tried some out myself and they didn't really work very well. So, I mean, if you guys know of anything like that, I would like to know. But that is definitely something I've had difficulties with, which is why, like I said, I have never been into pharmaceuticals, but I took birth control because I felt like I had to, and it completely screwed me up. So it's like, I am not doing pharmaceuticals anymore.
Okay, you can learn an awful lot with a thermometer and a litmus paper.
Right.
You can really learn a tremendous amount about yourself that way.
Yeah. Anyway, for people, I went through infertility years ago. I never had children, but I was taking my temperature every day. Uh-huh. And right before you ovulate, your temperature drops. You chart it. And then when it drops, you avoid sex for the next 5 days.
So is it like a small degree difference?
It's huge. It's a huge drop, and then it goes way up when you're egg. Anyway,
wow, that's
you have to look at some of the research. That was 20 years ago, but I was monitoring when I was up. Well, you can tell when you're up. I guess there's a test now. You can tell when you're ovulating.
It generates heat.
Yeah, it generates heat when you ovulate. I mean, so, and then I guess sperm only lives so long. It's not 100%, but it's better than nothing. Actually, I'm much older than you. I did that when I was a kid. My mother gave me the rhythm method. I started having sex at a young age, and that was before Roe versus Wade. And it's like, I definitely didn't want to get pregnant.
Wait, Mama's got the rhythm, Papa's got the blues.
Well, in the 60s, it was called the rhythm method, but then I got another level of it when I went through infertility. So there's information. I'll send more later.
Yeah, thank you for telling me that. I've never heard that before. That's really interesting.
Yes, there are ways which are more natural, but they're not 100%. But there's something about it's like sometimes people when they're really excited, it screws up the ovulation cycle. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's right. No, when people are, when you're really in love and feeling a confluent field with someone else, you want to create at some level when your rational mind may not be fully present.
Right? Yeah, stuff happens. Anyway, I'm past that. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that. But I feel for the young people. There's probably other. So, okay, we've got another, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, less than that. So in your presentation, what are the areas that you dealt with? What are we missing? What did we not cover yet? About solutions.
Energy.
Oh yeah, I go into that. Well, the part where I go into that in my presentation is really what I get into is I go into the secret space program and all these insiders coming out and how we already have this spacefaring civilization that supposedly, if all these whistleblowers are correct, is already out there and going on through black budget programs. So with technology, I kind of talk about what would it mean to release all this technology from the hands of these people who are keeping it secret and giving it into the hands of us as a civilization, just everyday people, and what that would mean. So obviously that goes along with the health, just these health pods, the different pods the secret space program whistleblowers talk about, where you go in and you do surgeries and things like that with AI technology. That's one thing. It's like, wow, that would be so much more helpful. And I think that's what is important is, obviously, like I said, going back to the number one solution, eradicating the global fall. That way, all this information is back in the hands of the people, and this technology that is out there, we are able to use, and it's not hidden from us. But obviously, these blueprints are somewhere, and there are people working in these programs, and they are starting to come out and release what they have. And I think that's great, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming years. So, yeah, that's
right. Yeah, I've interviewed a lot of secret space program people, and I've had they're trying to reinvent it and repatent the M drive and other tech. Well, M drive has been there's a paper out about the M drive. The M drive is the technology which would replace you can replace engines on boats, planes, trains, cars. Basically, it's all green energy. It's renewable. It takes us off of fossil fuels. That would reverse the pollution that's destroying the environment. And
what makes it go?
It's like Tesla technology. It's Tesla.
Oh.
So Tesla, when he reversed it, when he engineered the Model T Fords back at the turn of the previous century, it was just pulling energy from the air. You didn't need to burn plants. And so anyway, this is reinventing.
Just from the
it's
air.
already out. Yeah, it's just like, well, there's energy.
What's so interesting to me about the whole climate change agenda that is all over the mainstream is all these companies that are promoting it. It's like, all these people have ties with these big oil companies, and it's like, obviously we already have this free energy technology that we can use, and it's all being suppressed. So it's interesting that all this is going on in the mainstream media, and the mainstream media is funded by these oil companies that aren't really necessarily allowing free energy technology to come out on the market. And it's just all really interesting to look at. It's like, what is the agenda behind that? Why are we not allowed to have this technology out? But then at the same time, they're coming out saying that we need to, that it's our fault, and that, we're causing the climate changing, which obviously, we have had a part in it. But it's like, it's funny that they're talking about this in the mainstream media, but at the same time, there's this free energy technology that isn't being utilized.
Yeah, the companies are murdering people by pushing big oil, which kills people. that they are killing people, they're killing the planet, and this is a criminal enterprise, and it's got to be stopped.
Well, let's look at the motivation of the Illuminati, Anunnaki, whoever they are, the cabal. What is going on? So it's absolute greed. There's really no need. And how many billions or multi-millions does one individual need, right? They don't need it. So we're looking at greed. So looking at how do we eliminate greed? What is it? An emotion? What is it that's within people? This is reptilian.
There's
mental illness.
Improper balance between giving and taking. Take is out of balance. It's just like give is. You've got to be able to have a flow and a balance.
So how do you get a reptilian to balance giving and taking?
Because they're monkeys too, like us.
Well, they're monkeys too, like us. Okay, so that's what I've been looking at. It's like we have all these ideas and these kind of shoulds, and their behavior is not normal or not kind and loving. It's greedy. It's about power, control, manipulation.
Right.
And
like David Icke talks a lot about like a lot of these people. They all have like they're all actually like sociopaths. That's like the people that are able to get up in the 1%. A lot of them like don't have the ability to care for other people. They're just sociopaths. So it's like, and what is that? David Icke talks a lot about how that comes down to like demonic, like archonic, like possession, which that's like another whole interesting concept with all that. You guys probably know about that tonight.
So I'm looking at how do we solve, how do you treat sociopathy? How do you resolve this type of conflict?
Inside the sociopath is a very frightened child that's hiding behind and judging other people for being having vulnerability. And once the person is able to separate from their operating ego, who they think they are, they'll realize that they need other people, and they are human beings that bond with other human beings and empathetically can experience all humanity and all beings for that matter. And I think it's there too. They're not unredeemable. They're just they need to come in contact with their own need for all of humanity, for feeling oneness with the rest of the people and this beautiful planet.
Yes.
But are they human beings?
That doesn't matter. They're beings. They're part of God. They're part of everything,
okay.
and we're all interconnected. They're in us, and we're in them. We've got to feel our oneness. That's the message.
Okay.
And like supposedly our like us ascending to the fifth dimensional consciousness can't happen until these reptilian entities are able, and like these kind of, or they are able to move with us because we're all karmically tied. So we have to. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all together, even though we think we're separate. We're all tied together. Have you ever encountered any reptilian beings, or do you know anybody that's ever? Well, the dragon, of course, is part of that family. So
I have seen people.
When I killed my dragon, she left us. Go ahead.
I have seen people change in front of me before. I actually saw a certain director in Hollywood. I don't know if I should go into names, but I ended up at a party at his mansion, and he was talking to someone, and I saw his face change into a reptilian face and change back. Like it like started to change, like it was like almost like a glitch, and it changed back. And I've seen this in different people in Hollywood before. And I don't know if it's just me being tapped in consciously, like other people couldn't see it. But like a lot of times for me, it'll be like the eyes, like I can see something in the eyes like change. And I've seen this in certain, higher up people in Hollywood before. but I
Does the
haven't
slit in the
like.
eyes go from up? Does the slit go up and down in the center of the eye instead of sideways, or what happens
Yeah, I see like
in the eye?
almost like a yellowish like slit in the eye, like going to up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Icke was telling us that he was he stayed at our house about 10 years ago, and he said when he was sitting in his chair he was a newscaster, right? So he was on the BBC or whatever that station was, and who was it, Tony Blair or somebody was, there was a chair in between us, and there was somebody really famous that was getting ready to go on to the news channel, and he was a famous politician, and he looked over and the eyes changed, and he saw that David saw him, and he kind of like smiled and sneered and like,
No,
yeah.
No, listen, that was Jimmy. No, it was Jimmy Carter, but the truth was that was a walk-in that had taken over Jimmy Carter,
No,
because
Jimmy Carter.
it was so Jimmy Carter.
He's over in England. Okay.
Anyway, but what happened with Jimmy Carter is that the walk-in is out, and he became enlightened, and he spends his time sharing his heart. He's a beautiful, enlightened dude, and he had a walk-in that had him, do things that presidents
So
do.
he was possessed.
But he's wonderful.
So
I can feel him.
They got rid of the possession. Okay, so that's the whole thing. Like the archons. The archons are supposed to be able to come in interdimensionally and take over people. And actually, Thoth, Warren mentioned the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or Thoth, that they were taking over the heads of the council, and David Icke touched on that. What do you think of that? These people that you shapeshift.
So yeah, that's what I was getting onto earlier. That's what I was kind of getting at earlier was apparently when people have these kind of sociopathic personalities, it makes them more susceptible for possession by these entities. So I think I don't know this all for a fact, but I think we all kind of, there's like these entities and these other dimensions around us at all times. And I think like the moment you lower your vibration to a level where you're taking drugs or alcohol, things that are lowering your vibration, then it allows for these entities to start coming through. And if you're the kind of person that actually, a lot of these people in power, they're actually weak people, but they try to find this power externally because they don't have it within themselves. And that's when they are taken over, in my opinion, by this sort of possession, which like, don't they say like the archons, it's almost like an AI sort of thing? I don't know. Isn't that what David Icke says about all that?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly who's possessing whom, but as a therapist counselor, we have encountered people that have been possessed by something, or they symbol it that way, and when they have another personality coming through, their face often changes and they look different, than their normal face, right? So I've seen that personally in therapy, and you've got to hold space and not freak out and help them get through it. Sasha learned how to do exorcisms in his training. Yeah. We have one more minute. We're out of time. Tell us about your website and how to get in touch with you. Last minute to you. Take it away.
Okay, well, I have two websites. My main website for all my artist stuff, or just my public figure stuff, is apollaasteria.com. It's just, my name.com. And then Shaman Spears' website, where I have all my art. And I will, within the next month, I will have all my individual pieces up there. But for the time being, like I said, you can always do customizations. And also, I will be at the Conscious Life Expo speaking in LA this February, I believe. January or February. I think it's February. So I'm excited for that. That's the next conference I'll be at for the time being. And and also my band, or the band I'm in, you can check out www.whatisthesiren.com. Just What Is the Siren. and that has the links to the Bevo, the YouTube, and the press kit and all the awards we've won and all that. So that's the best way to find this. And it was a pleasure being on the show. I really enjoyed it. It was very fun. I love talking to you guys.
Thank you, Apolla. We look forward to seeing you again
Make
soon.
it aloha.
I look forward to seeing
Aloha,
you.
blessing.
Stargate 2020. Do it.
All right, we'll make it happen. Aloha. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.